Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are going to learn how to find averages from frequency tables. We've got 3 success criteria, and the first one is to find averages from a frequency table. Before we get started, you need to be able to answer these questions. So pause the video, and when you're ready to mark your work, press play. Here are your answers. So there's your green answers. There's your amber answers. And there's your red answer. So here we've got a frequency table, and the table shows the results from rolling a dice 10 times. So we've got the scores on the dice from 1 to 6, and the frequency tells us how many times those scores came up. So the dice landed on the number 1 3 times. It landed on the number 2 once. It landed on the number 3 twice. It landed on the number 4 twice. It landed on the number 5 once. And it landed on the number 6 once. So the frequency tells us how many times a particular event occurred. So we need to make sure we read horizontally. So we've got 3 1s, we've got 1 2, we've got 2 3s, we've got 2 4s, we've got 1 5, and we've got 1 6. So these are the results of rolling a dice 10 times. We can find averages and the range by doing this. However, sometimes the frequency table will contain too many values to have to write them all out. So we need to find an alternative way to find the averages. So the table shows the number of goals scored by 20 teams in a season. So we can see there were 2 teams that scored 63 goals in a season. There were 5 teams that scored 64 goals in a season. There were 5 teams that scored 65 goals in a season. There were 3 teams that scored 66 goals in a season. There were 2 teams that scored 67 goals in the season. And there were 3 teams that scored 68 goals that season. So the mode is the one that appears the most, so that's 64 and 65, because they both appear more than any other. The range is the biggest take away the smallest, so that's 68 take away 63, which is 5. The median is our middle value, so that's the number that appears in the middle of all these values when they're in order. And the mean is all the scores added together divided by how many numbers there are. In this case, we divide by 20, and that's 65.35. So here's our results of rolling a dice 10 times again, and we want to find the mode for this data. So the mode is the most common result. So to find the mode, we look for the biggest number in the frequency column and then look across to the first column. So the mode here would be 1, because that occurs 3 times, which is more than any other. Here's a question for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see your answer, press play. So the mode for this data would be 52p, because the frequency for that is 10, which is more than the rest. This time we want to find the range of the data. So that's the biggest score, take away the smallest score. So to find the range, we subtract the smallest number from the biggest number in the first column. So 6 take away 1 is 5. So the range is 5. Here's a question for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see your answer, press play. So for the range of this data, the range would be 5p. 54p take away 49p, which is 5. This time we want to find the median of the data. Remember, the median is the number in the middle. So to find the median, we find where the middle value would be, then look across to that first column. So we add 1 to the total, so we add 1 to 10, and then halve it to find out where the middle value would be. So 1 plus 10 is 11, and half of 11 is 5.5. So we're looking for the number that's in the middle of the 5th and 6th value. So the first 3 values are all 1. The 4th value is a 2. And the 5th and 6th value are 3s. So that means the median must be a 3. Here's a question for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see your answer, press play. So the median of this data would be 52p, because that's the number in the middle. This time we want to find the mean for this data. So we add an extra column and we times the score by the frequency. So 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 1 is 2, 3 times 2 is 6, 4 times 2 is 8, 1 times 5 is 5, and 6 times 1 is 6. And our total there would be 30. Now remember, the mean is all the numbers added together divided by how many numbers there are. So we're now going to divide this by 10. So the mean is 3. So we add an extra column and do the score times the frequency. Then we add those up to get a total, and we do the total of that column divided by the total of the frequency column. Here's a question for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see your answer, press play. So the mean of this data is 51.9 pence. So remember to divide the total of the frequency by the total of the frequency column. Here are some questions for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to mark your work, press play. Here are your answers. So there's your green answers, There's your amber answers, there's your red answers, and there's your purple answer. And now we've completed success criteria 1. So now we're going to move on to number 2, and this is to find the median and mode for group data using a frequency table. So this time we're told 11 people went into a sweet shop and their ages are recorded below in the table. So the difference this time is that we're not given a whole number for the age group, we're given an interval. So 11 people went into a sweet shop and the ages are recorded in the table. We want to find the modal class. This is another way of asking for the mode, so the most common interval. Well, we look for the biggest number in the frequency column, so that's 4. So the modal class is 20 to 30. So the most common age group was 20 to 30. This time we want to find the class containing the median. So that's the middle value. Well, we've got 11 in the frequency column. So that's a total of 11. So we add 1, which is 12, and then divide by 2. So we're looking for our sixth value. Well, the first 3 values are all in the 0 to 10 range. The 4th and 5th value are in the 10 to 20 range. So the 6th value is in the 20 to 30 range. So the class containing the median is 20 to 30. So why can't we find the range? Well, we can't find the range because we don't know the smallest and the largest age. We only know the smallest age is between 0 and 10, and the biggest age is between 30 and 40. So that's why we can't find the range. Here are some questions for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to mark your work, press play. Here are your answers. So there's your green answers. There's your amber answers. There's your red answers. And there's your purple answers. And now we've completed success criteria 2. So now we're going to move on to number 3, and this is to estimate the mean for group data from a frequency table. So we want to calculate an estimate for the mean. So why do we think the word estimate is important here? Why couldn't we just find the mean? Well, we need to find an estimate for the mean because we don't know these people's exact ages. We know there were 3 people between 0 and 10 years of age, 2 people between 10 and 20 years of age, 4 people between 20 and 30 years of age, and 2 people between 30 and 40 years of age. So because we don't know their exact ages, we can only estimate what the mean would be. So we want to estimate the mean. So remember, the mean are all the numbers added together and divided by how many numbers there are. Now we don't know the exact numbers, so we need to take a mid value between the intervals. So in the middle of 0 and 10 would be 5. In the middle of 10 and 20 would be 15. In the middle of 20 and 30 would be 25. And in the middle of 30 and 40 would be 35. Now we times the frequency column by the midpoint column. Because remember, the frequency tells us how many of those we've got. So we've got 3 5s, which are 15. We've got 2 15s, which are 30. We've got 4 25s, which is 100. And we've got 2 35s, which is 70. So the total of that column is 215. Now we need to divide that by how many people went into the sweet shop. That's a total of 11 in the frequency column. So our answer, the average age for people, is 19.55 to 2 decimal places. So we find the midpoint, then we times that by the frequency. We get a total for that column, and we divide it by the total for the frequency column. Here's a question for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see what you should have done, press play. So for this question, a farmer recorded the amount of eggs his hens laid. The results are recorded in the table below. We want to calculate an estimate for the mean. So the first thing we need to do is get a midpoint of our intervals. So in the middle of 15 and 25 is 20. In the middle of 25 and 35 is 30. In the middle of 35 and 45 is 40. And in the middle of 45 and 55 is 50. We then do the frequency times by the mid value. And we get a total for that column as well. That's our total amount. So we need to divide that by the total of the frequency column. So our answer is 29.625. Here are some questions for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to mark your work, press play. Here are your answers. So there's your green answer. There's your amber answer. There's your red answer. And there's your purple answer. And now we've completed success criteria 3. So now that we've completed the last objective, it's time to end the video. Hope you enjoyed it and hope you found it useful. Make sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out the videos on the rest of the channel. I'll see you next time. See ya.